Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the National Intel Report. I'm your host, John Statmiller, on this Tuesday, the 11th of August, 2009. By the way, if you've noticed something, he changed his bumper music. Well, he put the old bumper up. Well, no, it's not even the old bumper. It is Steve Voss. But what Mr. Voss has done here is, he's changed the wording around from his 1992 hit, We Must Take America Back. That was the one that was climbing the charts, ladies and gentlemen. He had a deal with RCA Records. Well, they started to nose around and finding out other songs that he was writing and producing. And, they canceled his contract. Went to another record company. All things sounded fine and dandy, and same thing happened to Mr. Voss. Well, he's back with a vengeance, and I'm glad that he is. So that's going to be the bumper. He's updated it to today's goings-on, meanderings of our wonderful federal government. By the way, I wanted to remind people that on, is that Sundays, Mr. Producer, 5 to 7 p.m., the well-read, well-thought-of, Ralph Winterrood. Ralph Winterrood. I'll get it up. It's been a long week, folks, and it's only Tuesday. It's a hangover from last week. At any rate, this guy is very, very close to busting the IRS right in half. Now, I know you've heard that hype before. You know, we've had Bob Schultz out there with We the People Foundation. He's made it his life's mission to try to crack the IRS. Well, I believe Ralph Winterroad has done exactly that. And how they've switched everything around, how this country has been operating since, I believe, 1948. That is the year that they threw the Constitution, the baby, and the bathwater. Everything went out yield window. So I'd highly suggest that you listen to Mr. Ralph Winterroad on Sundays, 5 to 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to stick real close to Ralph on this deal because the terrorists are out there. Al-Qaeda? No. Saddam Hussein's coveted guard? No. I'm talking about our own alphabet soup group, the agencies, which aren't constitutional, but they are when they flipped the form of government back in 1948. Want to know why everybody, I just heard this morning on Fox, just sitting there just talking about this great democracy. Well, it is now. Because there is no Constitution, according to the federal government. It's gone. So we can all sit around and complain and gripe and whine. Well, I've got God-given rights. I've got constitutional rights. No, you don't. Not if you don't have your government to recognize them. You may have them, but they ain't got them, and they are not going to honor it. One of these days, very soon, I'm going to have Ralph Winterroad on. But onward and upward, I'll be up in Oklahoma City, returning to the scene of the crime. Not my crime, their crime. At the Freedom 21. Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest you go to freedom21.org and check it out. Be there. It's going to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll be right back.
Get ready for Real Talk Radio. You're listening to the National Intel Report with your host, John Statmiller.
Oh, these little town hall meetings that are going on that the news media is saying, it's just plants. It's organized plants. They're disrupting these meetings because, my eyeball. Listen to this guy going after Arlen Specter.
Live.
Wait a minute. You want to
Things are getting physical. At the Arlen Specter Town Hall, let's take a quick listen.
Because your people told me I could. I called your office and I was told I could have the mic to speak. And then I was lied to because I came prepared to speak. And instead, you wouldn't let anybody speak. You handed out, 30 cards? Well, I got news for you. That you and your cronies in the government do this kind of stuff all the time. Well, I don't care. I don't care how damn crooked you are. I'm not a lobbyist with all kind of money to stuff in your pocket so that you can cheat the citizens of this country. So I'll leave, and you can do whatever the hell you please to do. One day God's going to stand before you, and he's going to judge you and the rest of your damn cronies up on the hill. And then you will get your just desserts. I'm leaving.
Okay. We've just had a demonstration of democracy. Okay.
Democracy? What do you think you're a senator of? I'll say one thing for Specter. That guy got in his face, and Specter was standing nose to nose with this guy, and he didn't blink. Now, I don't know why. Robbie Noel, are you with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chapman, come in, Mr. Chapman.
I was wondering whether Mr. Specter had been trained by the ADL.
Well, at least he had the common decency to jump from the Republicans and go with the Democrats. At least he had that. And Mr. Magic Bullet Theory himself. By the way, I don't know if you knew this, Bob. Back in the 90s, they had the hearings on the militia. And we went up to the Senate, and, well, we had a hearing. And Barbara Feinstein was there, and Herbert Cole, and Mr. Specter was there. And somebody had brought up, and that place was packed. And I mean, there was law enforcement in there like you wouldn't believe. Little shadowy figures walking around behind opaque panes of glass, and you could see them. They were listening real intently. One of the people brought up, Mr. Specter, your magic bullet theory doesn't wash. And I'm telling you, everybody in that place just laughed. But Arlen Specter's been around for quite some time, but my hat's off to this gentleman. I mean, he was in near tears because he sees what's happening to this country, and he said, you and your cronies up there in Washington, D.C. don't give a hang about us. And they don't. 2, 3, 4.
Crickets.
Lighters?
You know, there's a word I'm hearing a lot of lately, and I don't know whether you guys picked it up. Meritocracy.
Meritocracy?
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
Mm-hmm.
You heard this word of late, Bob?
No, I heard it over the years, and but not stuck any more recently than before.
Oh, okay.
Well, pray tell, what is meritocracy?
Well, it seems as though our friends on the left have come to the realization that democracy isn't really working all that well, based on, obviously, one man, one vote. And so there are intellectuals that are pushing the concept of a change from democracy to meritocracy, whereby only selected people with academic credentials should have the right to vote.
That's somewhat similar to the rules up until the 1840s, where you must be a landowner to vote.
Yeah, but they've changed
or
that.
have some substance.
Yeah, but you see, they've changed that because anybody could be a landowner. In other words, if you never attended an Ivy League institution, you would have the right to vote. But this is more in line with, a supremacist mindset, that only people who have attained degrees from one of the Ivy League colleges are the people that are more capable of making rational decisions than the man in the street.
Well,
and they are, and some of the, I got a couple of articles I posted up yesterday just because I've seen this term used so many times of late, it's just a question I have of whether this is gaining any traction or whether it's just wishful thinking on behalf of the oligarchy.
Well, I'll tell you something. It very well could be that this country is a democracy according to the FedGov. I was talking to Ralph Winterrode, and he's got the IRS scared witless up there in Alaska. And he says, I've done the research. And he said, I'm not one of these people that, get up there and say, I'm not going to pay the IRS until they show me the law. Well, he's done all the research using their own legislation, their own words. He has done the research, and he said, look, he said they flipped this entire country over to administrative law back in 1948. He says that's why you can't go into any courtroom in this country and stand on your constitutional rights, because to them it's a moot point. It's statutory. They switched the word statutory to law. And, well, that's the law. That's the law. No, it was a statute. What constitutional validity does a statute have? Not much.